Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On the News Hour tonight, floodwater submerges Abuja housing estate, property destroyed as residents count their losses. Presidential Election Tribunal admits documents against Tinubu as Atiku closes case. Department of State Services calls for vigilance against terrorist plot to attack Eid praying grounds and parks during Salah festivities. And on the foreign scene, South Africa probes death of 31 Lesotho miners in May explosion. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We start the news in Abuja as floodwaters on Friday submerged houses and cars at the Trademore Estate, Lugbe in Abuja after early hours morning rainfall. Similar flood had devastated the same area in 2021. Trust TV's Abdurrahman Umar reports that though no life was lost, property worth millions of naira were lost. His report.
The heavy rainfall in the morning sent many residents of Trademore Estate packing, submerging the entire area, leaving many with option but to swim to safety. A resident says if not for their quick intervention, a pregnant woman's life would have been lost.
Those days I saw water for my body like this. I just rescued one woman, she get body, she carry belly. She was there. I rescued the woman first.
Pius Bimbo says his pregnant wife, who was nearly lost to the flood, is to deliver this week and the experience was terrible.
As a matter of fact, she's expected to deliver this week. So she was very heavy. Even this morning, before I could sleep, she was complaining of the stomach pain. So I said, okay, let me rest by the grace of God. If it is a labor, then maybe later in the day we'll go to the hospital so they can check her. Then all of a sudden this one happened.
Ashabi Gloria is amongst the many victims that lost their properties worth millions of naira to the flood. She said measures against flood should have been considered when developing the area.
You see, this thing happen every year and there is no solution. You know, every year keep on happening, no solution. It's a pity when they are developing here, you know, they're supposed to put this thing into consideration. The drainage system is very, very important because here is a drainage system. Look at it. It's a valley place side. They did not put this into consideration.
Another resident, Nicholas Sule, says he received a phone call upon his arrival but found his car completely submerged.
So like I was there when someone called me that, wow, like my other car is, like there's a heavy rain and my car is down. So like I have to rush down. But before I came, like my car has been submerged. So I think it's a very terrible experience and I'm trying to get the water out and to maybe probably take the mechanic later if can revive it.
Chairman Trademore Estate Association Phase 1 Tunde Sholabo says earmarking houses for demolition in the estate is not the way to go about mitigating the source of the flooding.
Yes, FCDA came here last year, marked 100 and something houses, that the solution to this perennial flood is for them to bring those houses down, which they did, without we offering any word or hindering their services. But we told them that this demolition will never bring a solution to this flooding. There must be a source to this flooding. Why are you not using engineering solution in tackling this flood than bringing people's houses? We can see today 100 houses has gone, but the flood persisted. So where is this water coming from? That's the question that government need to answer.
Director for Forecasting Response and Mitigation Federal Capital Emergency Management Agency FEMA, Florence Winigime, says no life was lost, noting that Abuja is marked as a red zone for flooding this year.
Residents are all here. The chairman is here. You've spoken to him and he has confirmed that so far nobody is missing. But the truth is that we had a heavy downpour today, and there has been predictions about this heavy downpour and flooding within the FCT. FCT is among the red zone for this year when the predictions of the flood outlook was made.
Last year, over hundreds of houses were demolished in the area to avert possible flood. Abdurrahman Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now in Katsina State, Governor Duke Korada has paid an assessment visit to communities affected by flood disaster in Jibia town in 2018 with a view to preventing a recurrence. The visit followed a Trust TV report on possible flood disaster in the area this year because of dumping of refuse in the drainage constructed by the state government. Abdullahi Ahmadi reports that the governor also met custom officials in Jibia business community and other stakeholders. The report.
The assessment visit to the scene of 2018 flood in Jibia is to see what residents of the affected communities are doing and if it poses danger to the environment and possible flood disaster. Over 50 people, mostly women and children, lost their lives, while properties worth hundreds of millions of naira were destroyed in Jibia town following a flood disaster in 2018. Some residents are, however, dumping refuse inside drainages and building houses indiscriminately in flood-prone areas of the town. Governor Dikko Radda directed the firm that constructed the drainages to start the phase 2 of the project with immediate effect, warning residents to desist from dumping refuse inside drainages. Governor Radda also listens to complaints from Jibia business community against the officials of the Nigeria Customs Service, bordering on extortions, seizure of goods that are not prohibited by authorities from any part of Nigeria to Jibia town.
For those who want to buy something from Kaduna or any other market, to bring it to Jibia for trading and for the use of the people of Jibia, I see no reason why those people should go into a hardship. So I think I will urge the controller to invite the head of those units that are mounting roadblocks between Kaduna to Jibia and making life hard on our people for a meeting with you and the head of those commands and myself at the government house.
Jibia town shares border with Maradi in Niger Republic. Abdullahi Izumai Ahmadi, Trust Television News, Kazana.
Staying with the weather, the Nigeria Meteorological Agency has predicted cloudy weather and thunderstorms between Friday and Sunday across the country. This is according to NIMET's weather outlook, released on Thursday in Abuja, which forecasted a cloudy atmosphere in the northern region with prospects of thunderstorms. NIMET noted that the prospects of thunderstorms are expected over parts of Borno, Adamawa, Kano, Bauchi, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Gombe, Jigawa and Taraba states. NIMET predicted sunny skies on Sunday with few patches of clouds over the northern region, with chances of a few thunderstorms over parts of Bauchi, Adamawa, Taraba and Jigawa, as well as Borno and Gombe states in the morning hours. Now, the Department of State Services, DSS, has called for vigilance ahead of the Eid al-Kabir celebration, saying that there is a report indicating plans to attack worship and recreational centers before and during the festivities. This was contained in a statement by the spokesperson of the Secret Police, Peter Afunaya, which was made available to newsmen on Thursday. The DSS also advised operators and patrons of public places, including markets and malls, to be watchful and report any suspicious movement and persons to the relevant security agencies. The service says it will continue to partner with sister agencies for necessary proactive drills to frustrate criminals and their activities. The statement also discloses that a joint security team comprising the DSS, the Nigerian Army and the Nigeria Police Force carried out operations in Nasarawa and Kogi states, neutralizing and apprehending some criminals. According to Afunaya, the team apprehended Abubakar Muhammad, also known as Abu Direba, a suspected gun runner, on the 19th of June along the Abuja-Kefi Expressway in the Kefi local government area of Nasarawa. The statement added that in another joint operation in the early hours of Thursday, a team raided the hideout of Kabir Bala Oko, a one-time jailbreaker and notorious gang leader in Ejule of local government area of Kogi State. Oko and his gang members were said to have engaged the troops in a gun duel, during which he was neutralized with others fleeing the area. Elsewhere, 3 people have reportedly been killed and several others kidnapped by bandits who attacked the Sabonlai community in Birningwari local government area of Kaduna State. The police and Birnin Gwari local government authorities have yet to comment on the incident. However, a resident, Anas Musa, confirmed the attack on Friday. He says the bandits stormed Sabunlai village at about 12 p.m. on Thursday and started shooting sporadically, killing 3 farmers in the process. In Borno State, Governor Babagana Zulum has promised to intensify efforts to deal with insurgents ruthlessly over the recent killings of 8 farmers in the state. The governor made the pledge during a condolence visit to Muna, Shuari, Tamsu Ngamdu and Burum Kaiwa communities in Mafa and Jere local government area of Borno State. The governor lamented the attacks had denied farmers access to their fields, which had caused food insecurity. The governor therefore revealed that agro rangers would be reactivated and to support other security agencies to address instability in Borno State.
Just yesterday, some people were killed. People cannot have access to their agricultural lands easily. We had access in 2020, 2021, 2022. I see no reason why we can't have access now. But I have seen the army personnel. We shall have a meeting. We shall ensure establishment of a strong mechanism that can allow people, farmers, to cultivate their lands and also deal ruthlessly with some of the remaining miscreants that are harboring around the metropolitan and its environment.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has closed his case at the Petitions Court on Friday with a plethora of documents rendered and 27 witnesses giving evidence. Before closing his case on Friday, Atiku, through his last witness, presented documents of Tinubu's academic qualifications to the presidential court as evidence to prove that Tinubu's credentials sent to INEC were fake. Atiku, through his witness, Mike Enahore Eba, tendered Tinubu's Chicago University certificate, NYC certificate and certificate service for Mobil Oil Nigeria, bearing the name Adekunle Tinubu and not Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He also presented actual degree certificates, original admission letter of Tinubu by Chicago University in 1977, original transcript of Southwest College given to the Chicago University. Atiku told the court that in the said school transcript, his gender was referred to as female and not male.
We fielded our last witness today, who, as you can see, tendered very, very critical documents pertaining to the qualifications of the second respondent, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the academic qualifications, including the NYSC certificate, and then the conviction, the criminal forfeiture judgment from the US as well as the Guinean passport. So all these documents were admitted by the court, and we were able to round off our case on that note, having called 27 witnesses. So, and as the law permits us, and also in accordance with the pre-hearing report, we have eventually closed the calling of evidence by the petitioner. So the next stage now is for the respondents. If they have any defense, they will bring forward their own witnesses, and it will now be our turn to cross-examine those witnesses. If we have documents to challenge them with, we'll do so. When they finish calling their witnesses, they too will close their case formally, and then the parties will now address the court on issues of law. That's why you see most of the times questions are asked, we say these are matters for address, because there are legal issues that at the end of the day will address the honorable court on.
As the Bola Tinubu-led government begins to take shape with key appointments to man strategic positions, the scramble for positions has intensified for over 2,000 available appointments to governing boards of parastatals and government agencies. In this report, Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman takes a look at the possible direction of the new administration, some earlier steps taken, and its apparent departure from the previous government's administration style. His report.
President Bola Tinubu appears ready for governance from day one with top decision to end the controversial fuel subsidy regime. Soon as the anxiety generated by the inauguration of the 10th Assembly settles, President Tinubu begins house cleaning, firing and hiring those to drive his ambitious renewed hope agenda. Amongst top losers are the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele, EFCC boss Abdul Rashid Bawa, and lately the service chiefs, Inspector General of Police and Customs boss Hamid Ali.
I'm quite impressed with his takeoff. I'm quite impressed with his decisions. The decisions of deterrence and also decisiveness. It takes a leader that have the might and the will to take some of those tough decisions.
With the pronouncement so far and actions of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the response of Nigeria is that there are positive developments.
Replacing the sacked top government appointees, President Tinubu is giving preference to those that worked with him in the past in trusted political associates. Opportunists are equally positioning themselves to get noticed with visibility in the media space as they scramble for engagement to fill available positions in the Tinubu administration.
With the positive development that Nigerians are looking at this administration, I will advise that the government should be cautious enough not to rush into just appointing people because there are vacancies.
Shop for the best Nigerians to help him drive the system. Otherwise, he will get stuck along the line. If he's going to base his appointment simply because this is my party man and he has no capacity to drive the place, there will be no much difference between him and President Muhammadu Buhari administration.
For the rest Nigerians, while the honeymoon and tremendous goodwill for the Tinubu government lasts, they are patiently waiting for a better deal as promised. Just as Nigerians grapple with the fallout of tough but necessary decisions taken by the Tinubu administration so far, economic indicators are also responding to the presidential decisions.
Some of the decisions are negative, but they are decisions that are right. For instance, the removal of the subsidy is the right decision, but it has negative implication. You can see in our streets the number of cars moving around today, and that will tell you that the economic activities will also be low.
Anything short of what he has done, it would have been extremely difficult for him to take off, because the level of lawlessness in the system, the lack of deterrence in the system, and the way and the manner people have looted the country, the cartel that was established to siphon our resources, people feel that nothing will happen.
Political observers say there is a radical departure from the governance style of former President Muhammadu Buhari in the areas of swift decisions, strategic engagements and policy directions. But how these attributes could be sustained will be answered in the coming months. Shapiro Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, we take a look at worrisome development associated with rise or price of grains. Details coming up ahead.
That's good.
Welcome back to the News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a look at a recap of our top stories. Flood submerges Abuja housing estate. Property destroyed as residents count their losses. Presidential Election Tribunal admits documents against Tinubu as Atiku Abubakar closes case. Now, a former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Mohammed Dauda, who was removed in office, has been reinstated by the Court of Appeal Abuja on Thursday. While delivering the judgment, Justice Peter Ige says the evidence leading to the dismissal of Dauda was frivolous and lacking in merit. The judge also resolved all the contentious issues against NIA in favor of Dauda, who is a respondent in the suit. He then ordered that his salaries and entitlements since his day of dismissal from the office be paid. The appellate court also gave an order that the sum of 1 million naira be paid to Dauda. In a related development, the National Intelligence Agency says Mohammed Dauda was not reinstated as the Director General of the agency by the Court of Appeal Abuja. Head of the agency's legal department, NIA, A. Wakil, explained in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja that Dauda was never a substantive Director General of the agency. According to Wakil, Dauda only acted in that capacity temporarily until his removal. Ahmed Abubakar was appointed substantive Director General by former President Muhammadu Buhari. He said that the matter decided by the National Industrial Court and the Court of Appeal related to the dismissal of Dauda as Director General of the NIA for several infractions and breaches. He pointed out that the appeal judgment only related to procedural matters in respect to the dismissal of Dauda. Now, the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, has supplied drugs and other consumable items to the victims of flood disasters and other crises in Taraba State. The drugs were handed over to the officials of the state government at a ceremony in the state capital, Jalingo. The report.
Northeast Development Commission is a local organization charged with the responsibility to assess, coordinate, harmonize, and report the challenges facing the Northeast. It was established in 2017 by the then President Muhammadu Buhari to operate in all the 6 states of the zone to mitigate the negative impact of the Boko Haram insurgents, flood disasters, and other crises in the region. In keeping with this mandate, the Commission donated drugs and other consumable items to the victims of crisis in the state. According to the coordinator, Taraba State chapter of the NEDC, Bashiru Haman Ngoroje, most places where a serious crisis or disaster occurred realized that healthcare delivery services is what is needed to be given a serious concentration.
In most places where you go when there is serious crisis, you find out the healthcare services need to be assisted mostly because they say that health is wealth. Unless you are healthy before you do all these things. So it's part of our mandate as a commission to provide those items to the needy ones. So we bring this to Taraba State government to give to the people of flood disaster.
Receiving the items on behalf of the Taraba State government, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Madaki Musa, appreciated the kind gesture of the commission. He assured the commission of proper distribution of the items to identified beneficiaries, pointing out that Governor Agbu Kefas was passionate about healthcare delivery services.
Between the government of Taraba State and the Northeast Development Commission is a welcome development. We believe that the beneficiaries of these items will properly be identified and supported to benefit from this good gesture. Because we acknowledge the fact that they have suffered a lot during the flood disaster, and for the Northeast Development Commission to come to our aid in this regard is well appreciated.
I want to thank you so much for the kind gesture you have extended to the government of Taraba. And I want to appeal to you to take it as an issue of concern to visit all our secondary facilities outside with a view to coming in at any point
Why? Because I'm very sure if you take a little move and you go around to look at our facilities, I'm sure we are going to donate more than what you have donated today.
The Permanent Secretary, Health Service Management Board, Taraba State, Dr. Ahmed Kara, promised that all items will be properly delivered, but advised the Commission to monitor the level of performance in different facilities in the state.
The new Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, has vowed to tackle headlong the issue of oil theft and other security challenges attached with the maritime domain. Ogala stated this on Friday at the Naval Headquarters in Abuja when he formally took over the leadership of the Nigerian Navy from his predecessor, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, acknowledging that the nation had continually faced threats in the maritime sector in recent years. The new Chief of Staff vowed that under his watch, illegal refining of crude oil products would be a thing of the past. He, however, solicited the cooperation of all personnel in ensuring the success of the Navy and upholding the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and dedication to duty, adding that the task ahead was still challenging. The former Chief of Naval Staff, Awal Gambo, had explained that under his watch, the service had evolved more stringent operations concepts and strategies to tackle the devastating impacts of piracy, sea robbery, the proliferation of illegal refineries, brazen crude oil theft, and destruction of critical oil and gas infrastructure, among others. The Naval Chief's pledge is coming a week after the prominent Niger Delta leader and former agitator Asari Dokubo had blamed the Nigerian Navy and Army for the bulk cases of oil theft recorded in the oil-rich region. The immediate past chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, says the Boko Haram insurgency was at its peak when he assumed office in 2021, but leaving the army better equipped than he met it. Yahaya was appointed Army Chief by former President Muhammadu Buhari on May 27th after the tragic death of Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, who died in an air crash alongside 10 other officers and men of the Nigerian Army. Before he was appointed Army Chief, he was the theater commander of Operation Haɗin Kai, the counterinsurgency operation in northeast Nigeria. Speaking at the handover ceremony at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja on Friday, Yahaya, who led the Nigerian Army for 2 years, says he's leaving the military better than he met it. The new Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tawhid Abiodun Lagbaja, stated that the Army has witnessed an unprecedented prudent management of resources and procurement of military hardware under his predecessor. Now, health practitioners say lack of support and encouragement often hinders women from visiting health facilities during pregnancy or antenatal care. This, they say, contributes to the rise of maternal mortality rate. The experts said this during a media engagement on maternal, perinatal child death and surveillance response held in Bauchi. Here's Adamu Imam with the rest of the story.
Many men in rural areas hardly supported their women to attend antenatal in hospitals, which often lead to avoidable death. Health practitioners here emphasize that men must actively participate in all matters of family health to achieve the desired objectives of maternal, perinatal child death surveillance response in many communities in Nigeria. Dr. Ibrahim Kabo and Zuwaira Baba, both health specialists, says reducing the burden on maternal health and child death requires men-inclusive approach.
And also to create awareness in the communities for those women in the community to be able to attend antenatal care, to deliver in the hospital, to get all for the newborns to have all the immunizations and other essential care that is being rendered. We do understand that there are some complications that do arise, especially during labor and delivery. So they need to emphasize on health facility delivery, but at the same time also to ensure that those facilities are ready.
So part of the agreement there was to have a budget cut from Budget and Economic Planning Ministry, and then allocate some fund during our AOP development, and then follow up from there to see the possibility of approval and also release.
At the health facility in Misau local government area, health workers share their experiences while attending clients at the maternity clinic.
Most village, some men will say their wife will not come to hospital. That no, they don't used to attend hospital in their village. That they use gargadia, what they call gargadia. That if they use gargadia, if that gargadia fails, before they present that woman to a hospital.
We find it difficult to reach the place about our implementation, our action plan, because most of the data is not within the local government. It's out of this, maybe general that is a local government, Katago local government. Most of them are patients that refer to us here in general hospital.
Health practitioners also expressed dismay over lack of antenatal attendance, saying it's a major issue affecting the quality of healthcare service delivery, as many husbands prefer to have their wives deliver at home. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
To some of the day's other news, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration on Thursday says noodles produced in Nigeria do not contain ethylene oxide or its metabolism. Professor Mojishola Adeye, Director General of NAFDAC, disclosed this at a media briefing organized to present the outcome of his investigation on whether noodles produced in the country contain ethylene oxide. Professor Adeye says the investigation was occasioned by the recall of Indomie instant noodles special chicken flavor by Malaysia and Taiwan on account of the alleged presence of ethylene oxide, a compound associated with an increased risk of cancer. She says imported noodles are not expected to be sold in Nigeria because NAFDAC does not register imported noodles because of the ban by the Nigerian government many years ago to foster local production. A total of 114 samples of instant noodles and the seasoning were received, while samples were also collated from Lagos, Abuja and Kano. According to Adeye, findings show that ethylene oxide or its derivative was not found in any of the instant noodles produced in Nigeria and their seasonings. She reassured Nigerians that the agency would continue to remain proactive and committed to its responsibilities of protecting the health of the public. 156 intending pilgrims from Kaduna State will not perform this year's Hajj exercise because of non-issuance of visas. 108 intending pilgrims paid their monies through the Hajj savings scheme, while about 48 others paid directly to the Kaduna State Muslim Pilgrims Agency. The intending pilgrims say that despite meeting all the requirements and the necessary documentation, they were informed that they could not travel to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj exercise. Trust TV's Bello Musa has more on the story.
The Hajj savings scheme is introduced to help people to pay their Hajj fares with ease. However, 108 people who paid through Hajj savings scheme in Kaduna will not perform this Hajj as they were not issued with visas. Earlier, the National Hajj Commission (NACON) issued a press statement over alleged refusal to allocate the slot to intending pilgrims who enrolled through the Hajj savings scheme in many states, including Kaduna.
We did the necessary documentation in Kaduna State Pilgrims Welfare Board. We had our vaccination. The vaccination too were done individually because we were the ones that went to primary health cares. Like I went to primary health care and paid their 500 naira for the vaccination. So they gave us our uniforms, bags, everything.
Hear it from the executive secretary that we, the 108 HSS scheme, we don't have visa.
They said all the effort to secure their visas for pilgrimage were futile.
We delegate 10 people from our members out of 108. They went straight to Abuja headquarters. We found out that it was as a result of the allocation, the reduction in allocation of 700 that was made to Kaduna State. That's the reason why he denied us our own visa.
It was even on Friday, very late, that we had that some of the JAI subscribers had that we are not going to be lifted.
The executive secretary said NACON had initially given Kaduna State 6,487 slots for the 2023 pilgrimage, and the agency remitted over 15 billion naira to NACON account before the expiration of the deadline.
And I asked my ICT office not to apply for visas for those in Hajj 7 scheme. Really, Jaiz Bank remitted all their monies to NACON. It is NACON that will give them visa. It is NACON that will convey them through us to Saudi Arabia. But unfortunately, because NACON reduced the slot given to us after we have already registered pilgrims, we decided to keep Jai's 7 scheme aside, because they are not our business. The business belongs to NACON. That's what happened. We registered ourselves, and now NACON could not provide them with their slots or with their visas. So I don't know their fate.
While appealing to the authorities concerned to look into the matter to avoid future recurrence, the intending pilgrims said they will petition relevant agencies over the matter.
Well, our demand is this thing should not keep happening. And if next year there is an additional charges that we are expected to pay to go for Hajj, it should not be from us.
Our next line of action is we are going to write a collective petition.
The hopes of these 156 intending pilgrims of performing this year's Hajj is dashed as pilgrims airlifted will move to Mina on Monday for the Hajj rituals. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Customers at the Jalingo main market have described a worrisome development, the rising cost of grains in the market. The surge in price, according to Trust TV findings, has reduced the purchasing power of most customers and brought about a lull in the value chain. The report.
Before now, the prices of grains during the raining season are relatively low, unlike this year when prices have surged to record highs. This has strained household incomes and threatened livelihoods. Some sellers attributed the price increase to the deregulation in the oil sector by the federal government and the closure of borders.
We just do not have leaders in this country. That is why poor people are suffering. Food scarcity is real, and leaders must do something. We pray for our leaders to come to our aid.
They further blamed the bad road network, recent cashless policy the country undertook, insecurity among other reasons as major causes of the increase in farm produce in the market.
A bag of beans is sold at 45,000 naira. In addition to high transport fares, we pay money at checkpoints. Prices have generally gone up where we buy. What worries us more is the money at checkpoints. Government should please help us intervene.
According to them, a 100 kg bag of maize which was sold recently at the rate of 25,000 naira is now 33,000, while 100 kg bag of rice was sold at the rate of 25,000 naira is now 27,000. Guinea corn was also affected as a bag which is now 35,000 naira was sold recently at the cost of 25,000 naira, while a bag of beans which was recently sold at 45,000 naira is now 55,000 naira.
Increase in the prices of goods in the market is on high speed, it's on high increase, because the rice that we used to buy before, a measure of 400, 450, 500, now we're buying rice at 1,500 naira.
Some customers who lamented the negative impact of the masses added that they have reduced the measure of grains they consumed in order to enable them pay commercial tricycle operators, popularly known as Keke Napep, to make up for the increased transportation for them and their grains to their various destinations.
Everything has changed now. Dollar has increased, oil is expensive, oil has also increased, and many things have increased. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why items in the market are expensive now. I'm appealing that government should look into it and it should help us, the masses.
Both the customers and the sellers appeal to the government to do the needful for the betterment of the masses and the country at large.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back with more news after the break. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the Nigeria Communications Commission says Nigeria loses about 12.5 billion naira of financial crimes connected to the telecommunications industry over the past 4 years. NCC Director of Consumer Affairs, Dr. Al-Qasim Umar, made this known at the second quarter of the 2023 Open Forum of the Industry Consumer Advisory Forum organized by the Commission in Lagos on Thursday. The NCC Consumer Affairs boss says e-fraud poses a significant threat to Nigeria as it subverts the trust and confidence in the country's digital platforms, hindering economic growth and adversely affecting the lives of the citizens. It says, as a regulatory authority responsible for overseeing the telecommunications industry, the NCC recognizes its duty to safeguard the interests of consumers and protect the digital ecosystem. Executive Vice Chairman of the NCC, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, says e-fraud encompasses a wide range of malicious activities carried out via electronic means, including identity theft, phishing, hacking, and unauthorized access to personal and financial information with the intention to defraud or take advantage of victims. Now, for today's briefing in business, let's join Chiamaka Unwafo for the latest.
The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has asked the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, to diversify energy sources as a proposed tariff increase will affect the manufacturing industries and consumers. Segun Ajayi Kadir, Director General of MAN, said manufacturers have been forced to use alternative energy sources due to the long-standing problem of electricity supply in the country. The federal government had earlier announced the possible increase in electricity tariff by 40% effective from July 1st, 2023. The government said the tariff hike was in response to the surge in the pump price of petrol occasioned by the removal of subsidy. Ajayi Kadri said increasing the tariff by 40% will contribute to higher production costs, lower profit margins, a decline in manufacturing activities, and downward revenue remittances to the government. The African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, and Ghana Railway Company, the national railway operator of Ghana, have signed an agreement to finance the development and implementation of an integrated 299-kilometer standard gauge railway network. The rail line connects Ghana's western corridor to the port of Takoradi and provides an essential link to external markets. The heads of terms were signed by Kanayo Awani, Executive Vice President, Intra-African Trade Bank at Afreximbank, and Michael Anyeche, Managing Director, Ghana Railways Company Limited. Under the terms of agreement, the bank will avail early-stage project preparatory funding to finance the preparation of bankable feasibility studies. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Mwafo.
Now let's turn our attention to developments on the international scene. At least 31 miners are believed to have died last month in an abandoned South African gold mine. The government said this on Friday. The deaths occurred in the ventilation shaft at an abandoned site in the gold mining town of Welcome, 260 kilometers from Johannesburg, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy said in a statement. The fatalities are believed to be illegal miners who had come from neighboring Lesotho, a tiny kingdom surrounded by South Africa. The deaths possibly happened on May 18, although the cause remains unknown. A search team has not been dispatched to the shaft for safety reasons. Lesotho's Foreign Ministry alerted South Africa's High Commission in Maseru on June 10th, but the incident was only announced by Pretoria in an overnight statement released on Thursday. The reason for the delay was not yet known. The mine was previously owned by Harmony Gold Mining Company, one of South Africa's largest producers. It stopped operations in the 1990s. Thousands of registered miners known as Zamazamas operate in South Africa, scavenging obsolete mines for gold. The conditions are arduous and often perilous. Tributes have been paid to the 5 people who are now believed to have been instantly killed in a catastrophic implosion of the Titan submersible during its dive to the Titanic wreckage. The Titan, operated by US-based company OceanGate Expeditions, had been missing since it lost contact with its surface support ship on Sunday morning, about an hour and 43 minutes into this expedition. And of course, the wreckage of the submersible have been found in different parts of the sea. Here's the report.
On Thursday, after days of aerial and underwater searches, a robotic diving vehicle deployed from a Canadian ship discovered a debris field from the submersible Titan on the seabed, 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. According to Coast Guard officials, 5 major fragments of 22 foot Titan were located in the debris field left from its disintegration, including the vessel's tail cone and 2 sections of the pressure hull.
Initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event.
on behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families.
The White House said the loved ones of the 5 men had endured a harrowing ordeal over the past week. The statement thanked the U.S. Coast Guard along with Canadian, British and French partners who helped in the search and rescue efforts. The UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly described the update as tragic news and said the UK government was closely supporting the British families affected. OceanGate, the company that operated the Titan and whose CEO, Stockton Rush, is among the dead, while expressing their grief, hailed the sub's passengers as true explorers who showed a distinct spirit of adventure and a deep passion for exploring and protecting the world's oceans. The victims were Hamish Harding, aged 58, 48-year-old Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman Dawood was 19-year-old, Paul Henry Nigolet, 77-year-old, and Stockton Rush, who was 61 years old.
To some of the day's other news. Ahead of the August 30th featherweight title defense boxing bout between former World Boxing Federation champion Ridwan Oyekola, popularly known as Scorpion, and Japanese boxing sensation Keisuke Matsumoto, stakeholders are calling for support and promotion of the contest scheduled to hold in Japan. Speaking in Ibadan, experts reaffirmed their commitments to reposition Nigeria back onto the global stage by bringing back home these two coveted belts.
For your support on behalf of Scorpion, whatever I call some of my colleagues in media, I have to beg some of them that we have to come together to support this man. He has done so well for himself. At this point, please, whatever we can do, any strengths, any ideas you have, any bloggers that you know.
When boxing was boxing in Nigeria, back in the 80s, when we really mean the business, we have so many of them, Jerry Okoro Dudu, Peter, Joe Lasisi. But what is happening now? If you go to Olympic with so many sports, football, even if they are 40 or 50, they get only 1 gold. Go with 4 boxers or 10. If they win medal, it's separate. But where are we now? If they want to go for Olympic, they will just pick. They will unpick. Boxing is now on quota system. If you don't know any minister or any honorable, you are going nowhere. But to God be the glory. Look at this boy. We just patch everything together without help from anybody except Almighty God. Yes. I shall afford.
All right, for more news and update in sports, let's join Adeni Ajishafe for the latest.
"22 handball teams will participate in 2023 National Handball Premier League slated for Benin, Edo State. Handball Federation of Nigeria Secretary General Umar Lambo said the Handball Premier League will hold from 30th June to 12th July 2023 at the Indoor Sports Hall of Samuel Gumudia Stadium. Topping the list of the 12 men's team are Kano Pillars, Safety Shooters, Niger United, Lagos Seasiders, while defending champions Safety Babes, Plateau Peacocks, Imo Grasshoppers, Bende Dynamos, Seasider Babes and Delta Queens are among the 10 women teams to participate in the Handball Premier League. Lamboso said all transfers and loans of players should be concluded on or before 25th of June, while urging team officials to conclude registration process ahead of the commencement of the league. Kano Pillars and Safety Babes won 2022 Premier Energy Handball League in the men's and women's categories, while Nigerian Correctional Service, Bende Dynamos, Bayelsa Queens and Delta Queens gained promotion to the Premier League from National Division 1 Handball League. International Olympic Committee has voted to strip the International Boxing Association (IBA) of its status as the sports world governing body. The IOC Executive Board recommended the move earlier in June after the IBA failed to meet set reforms following 2019 suspension over governance issues and alleged corruption. IOC concerns over International Boxing Association's finance, governance, ethics, refereeing and judging as the Olympic body will be in charge again for Paris 2024. The Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, rejected an appeal by the IBA against the recommendation. World Boxing, a breakaway international federation from IBA formed in April, is seeking IOC recognition with an interim board made up of representatives from Great Britain, Germany, the Netherlands, New Zealand, the Philippines, Sweden, and the United States. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And that's our package on the News Hour tonight. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for your time and company.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.